Hi guys, and welcome to your daily tarot reading for Tuesday the 16th of August 2022. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to use the Law of Attraction Tarot for today's reading, and I just want to show you some of these cards because I hardly ever use this deck. It's very modern and kind of realistic. They're taking real life themes here in terms of the tarot cards. So it's kind of interesting because as most decks, it adds different meanings to each card. So if you're a reader, it adds other meanings to each card, which can be useful. But if you're a beginner, I wouldn't recommend this deck. It's not the easiest to read. I mean, if you're trying to deliver a message and you don't know the cards and then you get this, just a foot, without any prior knowledge or some abandoned office chairs, it's difficult to decipher what the image is all about. That's the blessing of the tarot, you know, that you have these images and you can look at them, and a lot of them are very self-explanatory. You don't have to memorize all the cards to be able to see what they're trying to tell you. So speaking of that, let's see what the Law of Attraction Tarot then has to say about Tuesday. And one, how you can use that law to your advantage. And second of all, what you're meant to see here. All right, so first card is this one. We've got, the King of Swords, who looks really dull. I imagine the King of Swords as this super authoritative genius, like this intellectual, someone who's clever, someone who makes good decisions, who's fair, and who's like a figure of strength. He is not as demonstrative. He still has all of those qualities, but he appears as like a school teacher. Very unassuming. So we've got the drab little suit, and then the briefcase, and then the little cardigan and the glasses. So it's real knowledge that is hidden, as far as I'm concerned. So this card, to me, says don't judge a book by its cover. Even though he seems kind of drab, he may have the most interesting stories and anecdotes ever. And even though he doesn't look like the most interesting person either, it's important not to dismiss the information, again, by judging something or someone based on their appearance. Next, we've got 13th card in the Major Arcana, which is Death. And here we've got a butterfly just coming out of its cocoon. So it's more about taking the whole transformation approach to the Death card. It's not an ending, it's simply a transformation. So we've got the caterpillar going into its cocoon and then coming out and experiencing this completely different life because it's now turned from a caterpillar into a beautiful butterfly. Okay, so appearance seems to be a theme here because the caterpillar, although some caterpillars are just gorgeous, but they're obviously not as beautiful as most butterflies are. And there's a transformation into something that you deem as valuable or as beautiful, either in a physical sense or in a meaning way. Like I'm living my life and now I'm thriving, which means that in an abstract kind of metaphorical version, I'm now becoming the butterfly and I feel like I've become the version that I'm supposed to be. And I was talking about the King of Swords appearance a moment ago. So it's not just about coming across someone who's really intelligent and who's got funny stories to tell. It's embodying the King of Swords and saying, I have all this value, but one, do I want to make changes to myself and to my physical appearance so that there's a clue that all this value does lie beneath? So I'm giving people who do judge a book by its cover the opportunity to get to know me by making myself look a different way? Or am I going to continue to pursue the things that I'm interested in, information, stories, knowledge, mathematical formulas, and transform my knowledge into something that's even greater? It's interesting because the King of Swords is, and I'm thinking out loud here, I'm just trying to decipher what these cards are telling me. So the King of Swords is in charge of the element of air, the suit of swords. So he's the boss. He's the king of ideas and decisions and stuff that you write on a chalkboard to teach the pupils, right? So it's not about kind of expanding his knowledge because he already knows everything. I think it's about delving into an area that you're not so familiar with in order to elevate what you've got already. So it's the King of Swords. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to go back to physics university and study even more so I can come up with the ultimate formula for the planet, it's saying, how can I take what I've already got, the 3 books that I've written now, and how can I, for instance, look at the media and learn about that so I can share the message around my books that I've already written? Or how can I, instead of teaching university students, how can I take this knowledge and now present it to 10-year-olds? It's about taking something that you've already mastered and transforming it for a different experience. So for instance, weirdly, the example that's coming to mind is Kate Bush wrote a song in like the 80s, Running Up That Hill, I think, and it was super popular. And then recently on Netflix, there was a show called Stranger Things, and they had that song in there, and it went back into the charts. So 40 years later, the same song has a different life. And that's what I'm getting here. It's about something that you've already done and achieved, presenting it or using it in a different way to have a different outcome in your life. So something that you've already forgotten about or you felt like you've got all the benefits from it, it's about revisiting that and seeing how it can still benefit you now. And finally, we've got, what's this? The 12th card in the Major Arcana, which is the Hanged Man, and that's about starting over usually. Or usually the hangman is about stopping and saying, okay, I didn't get this situation right. Again, my perspective was off. So I need to take a moment to reevaluate, to look at things differently so that I can experience more security in my life. Here we've got a hangman who's very different. We've got someone who's walking a tightrope and whose gaze is firmly fixed on where he wants to go. So this hanged man isn't about changing his perspective at all. This hanged man is about clinging on to your delusion or clinging on to this one thing that you're looking at so that the current situation can be overcome or resolved, not by examining it, but by overcoming it and leaving it behind. It's really interesting. So all of these cards are about a perception of the self and work that you've done in the past and how you perceive it now. The ability to transform the self and not transforming the self by analyzing it in the here and now. Who am I? Why am I wearing this suit? What do I want to become? It's by simply focusing on what you want to be in future and letting yourself be pulled towards that future, and the details, the transformation is just going to happen despite you. So what's being said here is that you've mastered something. Well done, round of applause. The universe recognizes that. You've come a long way, you've grown, and you've completed some sort of cycle. You get it. And whether you realize that you've changed or whether you don't realize that you've changed or grown as a human being, the universe recognizes that. And it's saying that you're changing. Even if you aren't aware of that process, it's happening despite you. It's just happening. You're growing, you're becoming a more beautiful person, a more informed person, a less judgmental person, a person who sees more clearly and fairly. It's naturally happening. So you're on the right track. Enjoy the day. Don't overanalyze how you're changing, because that will actually just slow down the process. Believe in yourself. Realize that you're on the right track. Give yourself props that you are changing and transforming into a person who can thrive, and simply keep doing what you're doing. And it's a weird message because I'm saying don't question things too much and keep your eyes firmly fixed on where you want to go. So the Law of Attraction Tarot is saying that you've already attracted all the right things because you're doing the work. And what's going to happen is, if you just keep going, is that this process, this thing that you've been longing for in life, transformation, getting what you want, realizing your hopes and dreams. Those things are going to happen in future because you're doing the real work. You're changing as a person, which guarantees that the outcome and the response you get from the planet is going to be different. So here, this teacher, right? And you're going to notice some of my bias. He doesn't seem very interesting to me. And there's nothing that really draws me to him, like the grumpy expression. Ugh, not that interested. The briefcase, I don't really care what's in there. It's probably not going to be that interesting. Like nothing. I'd much rather talk to him. He's dressed in a way that seems less formal. So my assumption is that I can talk to him about fun things. I like his hair. It's curly and wild. Again, my assumption, I'm judging a book by its cover. I'd rather have a wild conversation or have a wild moment with this guy than the straight side part, which says to me convention, institutions, conforming, boring, blah, 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 blah. So I mentioned at the beginning, judging a book by its cover. And what I said here is that don't analyze too much and keep going. And it's almost like you're going to change from this person into this person. You're going to change into someone who you're more interested in. You're going to transform yourself into someone who resonates more with you without consulting a stylist or without going to the hairdresser or a fashion consultant. It's something that naturally, gradually, there are changes happening in your life today, which means that your inner world and your external world are more aligned. So you're transforming on a physical level more into the self that you really are. Which is kind of interesting because you could argue that that doesn't matter. Don't judge a book by its cover. Who I am spiritually is the most important thing. But we do live on planet Earth with other people. So if you give other people an inkling of who you really are, it makes it easier for them then to be attracted to you and to find you if they have something in common. This guy is going to attract a whole different set of friends than this one will, just because of the looks, before we even get to the personality. Okay, so number-wise, let's see, we've got 12 and 13, that's 25, and 1 is 26. 25 and 1 is 26, yeah. 2 and 6 is 8, and 8 is strength and power in numerology. So this is the power to keep looking at where you want to get to without letting yourself be thrown by self-doubt or criticism. And you'll notice that without thinking about it, something has changed during this day. Something changes without you being aware of it. Something changes despite you, and it's proof that you're going in the right direction and that you're on the right track. Okay. So I hope you have a wonderful day. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, scroll down a little bit until you get to a button that says book your reading. Click on that to order your reading with me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and share the video online. Have an amazing day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.